Good morning, boys and girls. This is your reading lesson for May 4th. And today we're going to be talking about a strategy that we've used already this year, but we're going to kind of revisit it and look at it in kind of a different way today. And that is using repeated words or repeated ideas to help us focus on the main idea of a text. So make sure that you have your document pulled up. There's a link in our assignments. And when you pull up that link, it should look like this. So you'll see at the top, it says strategies for finding main idea and key details. So I'm going to go ahead and read this top section, and you should be following along with me. It says, great readers are able to understand what a text is mostly about or the main idea. There are many strategies that great readers use to find the main idea of a text. Here are some of the strategies that we have used this year. So we've talked about looking at the title of a text and how that usually gives us clues. And if it's a nonfiction text, there might be headings that we can look at because the title and headings usually give you a clue to what the whole text or whole section is about. We've also talked about looking at the very first sentence or the very last sentence. Usually authors will introduce an idea in the first sentence and then remind you about it in the last sentence. But the problem with those is that that doesn't always work. First and last sentences are a sometimes strategy and not an always strategy. And then the last one, and this is the one we're going to be focusing on today, is using repeated words and ideas. And I want you to realize that when we're looking for those repeated words or when we are finding ideas that keep popping up over and over again, those are our key details. Those are the things that are leading us to our main idea, and the details support our main idea. So it says, let's think about the strategy of looking for repeated words and ideas in a text to find the main idea. Think about the list of words below. How could we put these words into 3 groups? What title could we give those groups? So when we are reading and our brain is absorbing all of these words and coming up with thinking to go with those words, this is really what our brain is doing. It's picking out words that go together and kind of putting them into the folder in our brain where they belong, right? So we're going to do the same thing with this group of words. So our words are grape, field, shoulder. None of those seem to go together in my head. Pear, earlobe, penalty. I'm noticing, the first thing I noticed was that grape and pear could maybe go together because they're a fruit. So I'm going to keep going. Goalie, knuckle, mango. Oh, there's another fruit. So the first words that stuck out to me that are repeated are words that are fruit words. So even though grape and pear and mango are different words, they're all a type of fruit, and my brain recognizes that when I read those words, so I can kind of group them together. So for my first group, I would put grape, pear, and mango. And the title I would give that group is fruit, because each of those is a type of fruit. So that's how they go together. So if I look at my words again, now I'm noticing field, and I'm thinking, okay, that might be a kind of sport. It's like a sport word. And I was thinking that because I also saw goalie, and then I also saw penalty. And I noticed that goalie is sometimes used in hockey, and it's also used in soccer. And then so is penalty. There can be a penalty in hockey, and it can be a penalty in soccer. But what really makes me think is this word field, because I know you usually, I guess you could play field hockey, but typically we're thinking about soccer when we're thinking about those things together. So I'm going to put goalie, field, and penalty. And I would give those the title soccer because they all make me think of the rules and things that are involved with soccer. So those all go together. Even though they're different words, they all fit into the same category and they go with the same big idea. So that leaves me with shoulder, knuckle, and earlobe. So now I have to think, how do shoulder, knuckle, and earlobe go together? What do you think? I'm thinking shoulder, knuckle, and earlobe are all parts of your body. So I would name that body parts. Okay. So this is showing you how words and ideas can repeat in a text. So sometimes it might be the exact same word that's repeating over and over again, but it might also be categories or groups of things that go together, or words that are synonyms for each other that are constantly repeating, and those are leading you to what the text is mostly about. And then this also shows you how that title goes along with those repeated words, right? The things that are talked about over and over again, that's usually how the author gets the title, to give you a hint about what you're going to be reading. So it's all interconnected and it all goes together. And these are all things that you can be using to think about what a text is mostly about and to keep you from picking a detail as the main idea instead of a main idea. All right, so let's keep going. It says this shows us that refining repeated words helps our brain to see how ideas in a text go together. The way they go together tells us the main idea of the text. The sentences where we find those repeated words and ideas are the key details that support or tell more about the main idea. So we're going to use the same thinking now, and we're going to apply it to a text. It says, let's try using the repeated word strategy to come up with titles for the text below. So we have a teeny little passage, and then we're going to use our strategy. So as I'm reading, I'm going to be looking for ideas and words that repeat. So you might hear me stop and think aloud about the words that I'm noticing, and then we'll answer the questions. Passage 1. Although many people love having a dog as a pet, there are some adults and children that are very frightened of dogs. Sometimes people are afraid of dogs because they have had a bad experience in the past, like being bitten or growled at by a dog. Okay, so something I'm noticing already is the word dog is being talked about over and over again. And then I've noticed the words frightened and afraid. And then bad experience, I feel like goes with frightened and afraid because that's why they're frightened and afraid. And then same thing with bitten or growled. Those are all bad things or things that would make you afraid. So far I'm thinking this text is about being afraid of dogs because those are the ideas that are repeating. So I'm going to keep going and looking for more repeated words. Having an irrational fear of dogs is called cynophobia. It is possible to get over a fear of dogs, but it is difficult. So again, I'm noticing fear, and this name is the name of having a fear of dogs. And then again, fear and dogs. So I think that this text is mostly about, and I'm going to change my color here. This text is mostly about how some people are afraid of dogs. I know this because it repeated words and ideas like. So I'm going to think about, okay, so what words and ideas repeated that would prove that my main idea is correct? So I noticed the word dog over and over again. I noticed the word frightened, afraid, and fear. So those are the words that I'm using to put together to prove that my main idea is correct. So a good title for this text would be, well, if the whole text is about being afraid of dogs, then probably a good title for this text would be Fear of Dogs. So that gives the reader a clue about what they're going to read. All right, for this next passage, I'm going to pause here and there to let you think of answers. So this is sort of like our guided practice if we were in school together. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to read passage 2, and as we're reading, I want you looking for words and ideas that repeat to help us focus on the main idea. Did you know that almost every culture has their own version of pancakes? In the US and Canada, people often eat buttermilk pancakes for breakfast. So I'm going to stop there for just a second. Do you notice words that repeat? Hopefully you've noticed that they've said pancakes twice. If you lived in Australia, you might eat a pancake with jam or cream as an afternoon snack. Okay, I noticed they repeated pancake again, but what else is repeating? I noticed that they're repeating the names of different countries. For example, they said US, Canada, and Australia. So far, we have pancakes, and then we have different countries' names that are being repeated. So let's keep going with our last sentence. If you lived in India, your pancakes would probably be made from rice and lentils. So again, I noticed the word pancakes, and this time I noticed a different country. All right, so if we put it all together, what is this text mostly about? What do you think? Well, if the word pancake is repeating, it's mostly about pancakes, but that's our topic, so we have to be more specific. So it's about pancakes, what? Well, if they're repeating the names of other countries, it's mostly about pancakes in different countries. So it's talking about how pancakes are made or eaten in different countries. All right, so how do we know this? Well, what repeated words did we see? So what were some words that we saw that helped us come up with this? First word was pancakes. And then what words showed us that there were different countries? US, Canada, Australia, and India. So those were the words that helped us figure out our main idea. So a good title for this, if the entire thing is about how pancakes are eaten or made in different countries, then what would be a good title for this text? I'm thinking something like maybe pancakes around the world, because it's talking about how pancakes are made in all different countries. All right, so hopefully this has showed you, reminded you about our repeated word strategy, and this is my favorite one, boys and girls, because it can be used every single time. At the beginning, I talked to you about how that first and last sentence are a sometimes. Well, the great thing about the keyword strategy is it's an always strategy. It will always work to help you focus on the main idea of a text and look for those key details. So as you go to do your Edulastic assignment today, you will see in the directions it's going to prompt you to remember to use that repeated word strategy. And remember, you can highlight words on Edulastic to help you remember, or you could even write them down in your notebook as you see words repeating over and over again. So I want you practicing that today as you do your Edulastic assignment. Okay. All right. That's your lesson for today. Go ahead and click on your Edulastic assignment, and I will talk